What's up, YouTube? It's your girl Dee Dee. Welcome back to the channel. So I'm back with another reaction video for you guys. Listen, before we hop into the video, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. It is free to subscribe, share, and like the video, and turn on your notification bell to be notified when I upload new content. All right. So I came across this clip where this woman is talking about being married. She's saying that her husband is a good man, but she's thinking about leaving him. So I want to talk about this whole idea of women who actually have good men, who profess that they have good men, but for some reason, him being a good man is not good enough, and they're thinking about walking away. And this is what we tend to hear a lot of times. Women who actually have the good men want to leave, and the women who don't have one are still out here claiming that there aren't any good men left. So I want to get into this video. Make sure you are subscribed. Y'all hit that bell. Y'all know what it is. Chime in the comments. I want to hear your thoughts. But let's listen to what she has to say.
A creator named Brittany Hall recently posted a TikTok talking about how good men lose good women. She basically described the current dynamic of my relationship, and I don't know what to do with it. I can't get it out of my head. I've talked openly on my page about how my husband and I are currently in a valley in our marriage. We are trying to decide, where do we go from here? We have been together for over 17 years and married for over 13. We got married as babies. We were just 22 years old. And I know a lot of people, especially now in this day and age, are saying you should not be getting married before 26 or 30. So when I say 22, their guests are flabbered. But we felt like we knew what we were doing. We were willing to take that leap of faith. We understood that we would probably have more challenges than most simply because we chose to get married so young. There was so many future versions of ourselves that we're going to have to grow and learn and mature. And we were okay with jumping in and taking that risk and vowing to be there for each other through all of those things. However, what we didn't know then that we do know now is that I'm an anxious attachment, he's an avoidant, and apparently those relationships are typically destined to fail. That is, if they don't do the work.
Where is the studies, or who is telling people that what relationships are bound to fail and which ones will succeed? Where are these people and where have they been? Because I mean, if you knew that when you signed up for being married to this person, you pay attention to your vows. What do your vows say? What is it that you want? It says for better or worse, sickness and health, rich or poor, till death do us part. It meant that you were going to have some things that y'all going to have to go through, and you vowed to go through them together. That's what a relationship is all about. Nobody says it's going to be perfect. So if you know that when you start to go through what she called the valley, then that's where you understand, hey, this is where we have to really fight. And we really have to like work harder to push ahead, because that's not going to be like, it's not going to be like that forever. That's the whole point. And if you know you don't think that you're going to be able to be with the person through thick and thin, if you don't think you could, fight for a marriage, if you don't think that you want to do that, then don't get married. Nobody is forcing you to marry. If you don't think that you could be committed to one person for the rest of your life, then don't get married. I don't think nobody but my thing is, I think a lot of people are not honest about what it is that they really want. It's your life. You make the choice. Be honest about what it is that you want. Hey, don't blame it on, I had pressures from this one and that one. No, at the end of the day, that's what being an adult is about. Making choices for yourself. If you don't think that you could be in a committed relationship with one person for the rest of your life, then don't get married. Nobody's forcing you to do that. But I think a lot of people, use different excuses to try to make their choice of walking away from a good person, make you understand why they're walking away, even though they know they have a good man. They try to make excuses as to why they're leaving, instead of saying, hey, you never really wanted that commitment. You never really thought you could do it, but you just did it because it was cute to do. And now you're just really tired, and now you're ready to walk away. And one thing people don't tell these folks about walking away, the other side of it, is that you may not ever get that type of person again, because see, you don't recognize how good you have it until it's gone. When that's gone, then you realize, damn, you can't really get that again. You may not get what you had, and but you might still want it, because people think they want that freedom, and then when they get it, you realize it ain't all what it's cracked up to be now that you're older. See, the best time to decide is when you're young. If you don't want to be married and you don't want to be committed and you just want to grow old doing your own thing, then just say that's what you choose to do. And you don't want all of that, because you don't think you'll be able to be faithful, or you don't think you'll be able to be committed, or you don't think you'll be able to, go through the ups and downs. You don't want that. You're selfish. You just want your own thing. I respect the person for being honest about their intentions, as opposed to going through with something that you're never going to really follow through with, because that's a waste of time, effort, money, and a whole lot of resources doing so. Just do what you choose to do and be authentic about it. You know what I mean? That's just where I met with that. But let's continue.
To Brittany's video, she talks about how good men lose good women simply because they are living in the gap. What is the gap, you might ask? Goes on to define it as that space between intentionality and action, and the space between acknowledgement and accountability. You have this good man who means well, but he doesn't move well. He talks about wanting things and wanting this and that for your life, but he doesn't actually show up in the ways that are necessary for you to do those things. He sees his patterns, but he refuses to change them. This essentially summarizes every single conversation I have ever had with my husband. But I will take what she said one step further. It's not just about that he doesn't move well or show up, or that he has patterns that he doesn't change. For our dynamic specifically, it's not totally that there's a gap between those things and how he shows up for others. It's also about that gap in how he shows up for himself. He doesn't believe in himself, and it shows. And it doesn't matter that I've spent almost 2 decades pouring into him and telling him that he can be and do whatever he wants to be, and I will stand by his side through the ups and the downs. Because he is not willing to do the work to change his patterns, he cannot believe what I am saying. They are constantly putting it back on the woman. Oh, your man can't be great because you're being too stern. You're being too rough. You won't speak to him gently enough. You're not being feminine enough. You want to put it back on us. But the reality is, what if you do have a woman who's doing that? What if she is doing that? Right? A farmer can sow seeds all day long, but like the Bible says, if it falls on rocky ground, if it falls on shallow soil, if it falls where the weeds can choke it out, or where the birds can come in and eat it, what does it matter? What does it matter if she's speaking the things and doing the things and showing up for you in all of the ways if it's not landing on proper soil?
Well, I think, look, before she continues, I think the problem is, I think a lot of these women are watching too much social media. Social media is definitely helping to ruin a lot of relationships. And I think a lot of these women are watching these women on here and creating these boundaries for their husbands and expecting their husbands to show up as Superman. I don't know their dynamics of their relationship, but I think a lot of women do this. They tend to listen to other women. Like she said initially, she listened to somebody, and they're being influenced by these people on social media when you probably didn't have any issues in your relationship. But now, because you watch somebody else and they've told you, girl, this is what you should be looking for. Now you're putting pressure on this man to do certain things that he just probably doesn't want to do. And then they make it seem like, oh, he's just not motivated and he doesn't believe in himself. But believe in himself or motivated to do what you want him to do. Maybe what you want him to do is just not what he wants to do, and either you accept it or you don't. And these people don't just show up like this overnight. This is probably who he has been, who he is his whole life. He does things the way he wants to do them. And if you accepted him and married him that way, why do you want him to change? I think a lot of women are looking for these men to level up and change and do things that they just flat out don't want to do. And you can't make him. The same way he can't make you do certain things that you might want him to do, if that's the case. And I'm just speaking in general because I don't know their situation. But in general, there are a lot of women who leave their husbands because they feel like, oh, he just became stagnant. You hear that all the time, right? Oh, he just became stagnant. He didn't want to grow. He didn't want to do, because he's comfortable where he is. And if that's not what you want, you go do what it is that you want. Why does you growing and changing? Why does that have to do what does that have to do with him being comfortable where he is? If you're not comfortable where you are, you go and do what you need to do to make the changes. Why does he have to change? If he's comfortable with you going out and starting a business and all that, well, you go do that. That doesn't mean that he has to do it, right? I think they're trying to force something on these men that they never tried, that that was not initially a part of the deal. I think a lot of social media and women telling them these things is why they're putting the pressures on their men to do such a thing. And when they say no, then now they want to leave. That's what I think. But hey, I could be wrong, but that's what I think. Y'all let me know what y'all think. Let's continue.
Do the work. One of the things women talk about a lot, and there's even a lot of discourse around it on TikTok, is do not marry a man for his potential. I'm a millennial and I'm a woman of color. When I was growing up, we were taught that if you do find a good man and you see his potential, then pour into him. We are taught to see the best in our future partners and then see if they have the capability of becoming who we believe they can be. But Gen Z is clocking that. They've seen their Gen X and millennial parents and grandparents, the women in their family, marry these men for their potential, and then that potential never manifests. And so now the message is, do not marry a man for his potential. Make sure that he already has his bag up. Make sure that he already has everything in order. Make sure that you can essentially step into his life already knowing that you're going to be fully taken care of. That just wasn't the conversation when I was coming up. And because that was my programming, it was something that I was completely fine with. What I didn't anticipate was that when I got older and I would be thrust into this situation of having to do a lot of healing work to overcome a lot of trauma that I didn't even realize I had at the time, it would become extremely important to me that I would have a partner who would also be willing to do the work to make themselves better.
Yeah, I just think once again, this is some type of programming. This is something that a lot of these women are taking on. Like she said, she didn't think that way at first, but now she's putting on trauma and things she had to work on. So now she's thinking about walking away from her husband because he's not leveling up to the potential that she thinks he should have at this point in their lives, when that's just probably not who he is. You're supposed to marry the person for who they are, not who you expect them to become. And she's saying she realizes this. And I think this is what a lot of women start to do when they get older. Oh, he's just not trying to level up and he's not trying to do anything, because you got this aha moment that, oh my God, we could do so much better financially. I want us to live like this and I want this and I'm older. Now I want more things. And now you putting all of the pressure on him to do all of this. And that's just not something he wants to do. It's not that he probably can't provide. It's not that he can't do things, but now a lot of women in their minds, they're like, oh, I'm a grown woman now. I want more things and I want all these things. But instead of you taking that approach, you want him to do it and level up. And because he doesn't want to do it, oh, you just walk away like, oh, he no longer serviced me. He's no longer, he doesn't do anything for me now. So I'm just going to walk away. And what they tend to do is walk away. And then they look for this ideal man that they've been told they should look for, who's, we talk about it all the time, meeting the man at the finish line. You want a man who's already established, but what's the aha gag is that when you leave your husband because you don't think that he's wanting to level up or have or live up to the potential you think he should have or expectations that you think he should have, now you try to go after the man that's already there and you find that you're not his cup of tea most of the time. If you're going to do something like that, you better start young and you better start prioritizing that type of man in your 20s. They talk about, oh, people told us and warned us we shouldn't get married in our 20s. But if you really want something with a man who already has that, you got to start young. You can't start at 30 years old and thinking that you're going to bag you a man with all this money and who's living the potential that you thought your husband should have. This is the upset. This is the okie doke for a lot of these women when they walk away. And I'm talking about married women who think that they can do better, who think that the grass is green on the other side. They tend to walk away from their good men, thinking that they're gonna get a rich man, and then they end up by themselves and getting ran through. That's really what the majority of them end up. So think real hard about your choices, because if the grass is not always green on the other side. And you thinking that now at this point, you're going to walk away and you're going to find a man that's already established, a man who has the things that you believe your husband should have had. And then you go out there and you realize that it's a different world. If you listen to these other women telling you, girl, this is what you should be and this and that, You know what I mean? If you didn't do it in your early 20s, go and when, it's like some of these young women, they out here, they know exactly what they want. A lot of their mothers taught them go after a rich man, and they're out there positioning themselves, for the men with the money. And that's what they go after. So either you're going to be out there looking for just that, but you cannot come back in your 30s and damn their 40s talking about, now I want a rich man. Now I know I walked away from my husband. Now I know what I want, and I'm not marrying for potential or dating. I want the man who already has it. A lot of those women are struggling to find healthy relationships with men. They really are, because those men are looking for the young women with no kids, not all those experiences and things like that. That's what they're looking for. And I mean, if you're looking to be remarried too, that's a whole nother thing, because a lot of these men nowadays ain't even trying to get married. They don't, because if they know too that you walked away from your husband because he didn't level up, they look at that as a negative. They don't look at that as a positive. They don't look at you and say, oh, you walked away from your husband, he was a good man, but he didn't make enough. He didn't want to grow and level up. You just walked away. Like these men don't look at that as a positive. They look at you and they put you in a category and they say, okay, I can't take her seriously because this is what she do. This is what she did to her other dude. Damn, I know she ain't, what she might do to me. So keep that in mind. Before you walk away from your husband thinking that the grass is greener, think about what you're walking into. That's all I would say. But listen, I want to hear y'all thoughts on this one. Chime in the comments below. Comment, like, subscribe, hit that bell. Let me know what you think of this video, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye. DeeDeesReactions.